Hello Ronlings. So I've just recently bought a fire maple stove, and it's something I've been after for a long time. It's something it's been in my watch list for a while. I've had my eye on it for ages, and I've finally been able to buy it. But when I bought it, it's supposed to be better and more efficient, but it did make me wonder: is paying the extra money for quite an expensive stove, what are you getting for that? Is it better or not? So I've accumulated stoves over the many years of different prices, and I was wondering. So what do you get with a really cheap Chinese one, and perhaps the next step up, a mid-range one and an expensive one? So I've accumulated these different levels, and I was wondering, figuring out about doing an experiment to find out does the price reflect their efficiency? Is a cheap one take a long time, use a lot of gas? Is an expensive one really super duper? I'd like to find that out. So I've devised an experiment today to try and answer that question. So obviously I have the expensive. When I say expensive, this is by my standards. Your high earners by Hillerberg tend to not even give other makes like OEX a look in, because they're far too rich for that sort of thing. This is my perception of expensive and cheap, being a person that works on a 12-hour shifts and has to save for everything. So by my standards, this is really expensive. I've got an OEX stove, which I considered to be a mid-range one. It's good quality, but not a really expensive one. And then I've got my first one I bought since I started the channel, and it's a cheapy one from China, which I'm saying I might add, despite its price, I've been using it nearly 3 years now, and it's still going strong. So starting with the lowest priced one. So I got this Chinese one. It came with it. They all came in sets, by the way. I never went and bought them individually, coincidentally. But no, it's not that. That's what I do. But it came in a set. It came with a cook set, and the cook set was just a pot. Well, about so big, about that sort of diameter, a bit narrower, a bit shorter perhaps, and it had a lid on top, which also became a saucepan, and it came with a knife and fork. It came with a, I think it came with a bowl or something, and it came with that. But it still only cost £10. It's like £9.99. So it was a whole cook set and that for £9.99. It falls down into a little thing like that, and so that on its own must be sort of around about a few quid, surely, when you look at them online. So that's definitely considered my cheapest one. My next one up was the, I don't know how to pronounce that, Kuju, OEX Kuju, Kaja, I don't know. That came with this pot, and it came with two plastic bowls. And that was reduced to, I can't find it. When I first got this, I actually said this on one of my videos, and I can't remember what I ended up getting it for. I went to a shop. I did it the old-fashioned way. I went to a shop. Can't believe that. Didn't do it online, so I can't find the purchase. But I've had a quick look online. They're all around the £50 mark, £55-ish mark, which I think is quite. Is it a lot? I don't know. And as I said, you get that and what I just showed you. But there was one, oddly enough, a shop doing the same thing for £34, but everything else was about £50-55. But I'm sure mine was more like 30 something pounds, just over £30 from the shop, because it was on the special offer. Good stove, extremely quiet. It does a really good job, and it's extremely quiet. Which is as a self camper, quite important. So that's that one. And then obviously I've just bought the fire maple. I haven't used it out yet. I've just had a quick play with it because it's only just come. I had a quick play with it, and what I like about it is what I really miss was my Chinese one has a igniter on it. And when I bought the OEX, I forgot that that's a criteria I like, and I bought it, got it home, and went, oh, no. So I had to buy. Well, I didn't have to, but I chose to buy a lighter that is just a spark. Because I didn't want to buy matches they get damp or broken, or once you run out, and that'll go forever. You have to charge it, but it runs forever. And I always bring a power bank with me, and various other things like torches and that are power banks as well. So I could put enough charge in there to get it going. So it's kind of infallible as well. It's waterproof as well. So it's kind of I think personally, if you're going to have to light something, that's the best thing to get. So I had to buy that anyway. But I do really miss the igniter. It's so much easier, and that comes with the igniter. So yes, they can fail, but I've said that before when I've said I've liked igniters. People say they can fail. Anything can fail. You know, whatever you bring with you could fail. So it's kind of a poor argument, but I like the igniters. I think they're great, and it makes life so much easier than having to faff around with lighters, matches, whatever. So yeah, so that was most expensive. This would come in at £43 something. It says on Amazon it retailed originally at 55, but I got it for 43, which I think is quite good. And as I said, the next one down was the OEX. That was 30 something, and then the next one down was the Chinese one. So it's difficult to get the experiment exactly right, so that they're all on equal footing to see which one. Because my experiment is to see which one boils first. I can't. You want to know how fast it boils, and you want to know how efficient it is on gas. I can't do the gas thing unless I run them all down, but I'm not wasting my money time and money doing that. But what I can do is just fire them all up and see which one boils first, and at least that would give you a rough idea of, you know, is that money well spent or not? Because that's what you want, isn't it? You want it to boil as quick as possible, and I'm guessing to a point, if it boils, the quicker it boils, the less gas you're using, perhaps. But that's what I'm going to do anyway. So I've got these gas bottles. They're humongously oversized. I don't take these camping. I actually bought these for my camper van for my heater. I thought the heater would be going through these like crazy, so I bought the biggest ones I could. And in actual fact, the whole winter, I bought it before winter, and I was using it almost every night in the camper, and I've only used what have I used? I bought a packet of 6. I only used 3 1/4 can through the whole winter because it's so fuel efficient. So I've now got these. Now the winter's over, I've got these huge things left, which I'm going to leave till next year. But I thought they're all the same gas, they're all the same size, so at least that's a consistency in the experiment with these. So that's the gas things I'm going to put them on. And as far as the containers are concerned, obviously that's not transferable to all the other ones, so I'm going to have to use different containers, which will obviously potentially affect slightly. But I figured, like, if you're buying the set, you're going to use it with the set presumably, at least at first. You're not going to buy a set and then throw everything away and just keep the stove, because then you might as well have not bothered buying the stove. So I thought there's a certain amount of consistency in the fact that I'm going to use what it came with. So for the OEX, this is what it came with, and expects you to boil it in that. I threw the camps kit away that this came with in favour of another one that had that, but that is, other than it being slightly bigger, it's very, very similar. It's the same, they're all the same material. It's so it would have come with something that wouldn't make any difference, I don't think, to the boiling of the water. I mean, this campsite came with a kettle, but I thought that would change everything because that's all encapsulated in it, and it might boil quicker. So I decided to put it in a bigger pot, because that's another thing that this camp set come with, and it's, other than it being slightly bigger circumference, the camp set that this came with wasn't much different to that. So I thought that would work, and then obviously the jet boil comes with its own debris. Yeah, it's not going to be 100% accurate, this experiment. It's just a bit of a laugh, and it'd be interesting to see how it works. I'm going to leave all the lids off as well, because I could put the lids on, and that would, it's got a very similar lid, the OEX one. I could put them on, but I'd be lifting them off all the time to have a look. and then that would be sort of fanning it, and one potentially could have a lid on more than the other, and then you could argue that yeah, that boiled quicker because you left the lid on more. So I'm going to leave all the lids off as well and let it boil like that. I think that's as near as I can get to a fair experiment to see which one boils first. Regarding the measurements, that's the cup I bring. So obviously this is my experiment, so it's relevant to me. So that's the cup I bring, and that's the amount of water I can get in one cup. It doesn't look like it, does it? It looks really tiny, and yet I can get half a pint or nearly 300 ml of water in that cup. When I'm out camping, I put a little bit more than the cup's worth. I measure a cup in and do a little bit more, because the little bit more washes up the cup, and I might put a little bit more than that if I've got something else to wash up, but I'm just going to do a cup's worth. Right, so they've all got 300 ml of water in them. Now obviously it depends how much flame you've got as well. Oh, yeah, I've got that in my hand now, I might as well use it. So obviously it depends how much flame you've got as well. That is so noisy, the Chinese one. You listen to that. I could barely hear it. So obviously you can change how much flame you put on each one as well. So that's obviously going to be a difficult one to judge. But I always tend to have, my general rule personally is not to whack it up maximum, but not to have it sort of barely coming out. I have in my head a rough flame size that I do for every cook, and it's not necessarily as much as powerful as you can. I don't think it's necessary. So I do in my head have an understanding of roughly how much flame I use, so, and it is roughly the same. So, but yeah, that is obviously a lot of there's a lot of conjecture in that, but it is what it is. I'll just do the best I can. That's noisy as well. Look how noisy that is. I've got that on really low heat. And that's really noisy. So something I don't like about it. So not liking the fact that they're both really noisy. See, that's supposed to be the experiment, the expensive one. I should put that on last. And there we go. Okay, let the boiling commence. Okay, so it looks like, to me, the Chinese, so this is, they're not actually in order, expensive, cheap, mid-range. The cheap, that's the cheap, and it's boiling. That's the expensive, nothing. That is definitely boiling, without question. So that one first. Now that has just started boiling now. And that's boiling now as well. So, I think that's quite interesting. So as far as I'm aware, I used the same flame. You know, I had a good look, and they had the same sort of flame. The same sort of flame, as much as I could work out on each one. Firstly, I like to say that is the noisiest thing I've ever heard. As a stealth camper, my OEX, I should have had them in order so that they went expensive, medium, cheap, but I haven't. The OEX, the medium, is silent. I love that. It's completely silent. You can barely hear it. This is quite noisy, the Chinese one. That is incredibly noisy. Really, really noisy. I've seen people use these, and I can tell there's making a noise, but until you're actually there, I didn't realise how noisy that is. That is not a stealth stove by any chance. But the interesting thing is the Chinese one boiled first, and then about 10, what was it? Because you were watching it live, so about 10 seconds later, that one went, and then just after that, that one went. So the expensive one boiled last. The Chinese one, which you can find them, as I say, I bought in a cook set for £10. I think the same sort of thing was about sort of a few pound. Boiled first, and it was quite noisy. Not as noisy as that, but it was quite noisy. And the last one was the OEX, but only by a hair's breadth. These ones almost came on together. The Chief and the OEX almost came on together, because as soon as I looked at that and said it's boiled, I looked over that and I saw that had boiled as well, and it wasn't boiling just before I looked, because I checked them all. So that came on just after that. So that implies to me, can anyone answer, why are we paying a lot of money for these? Because it's noisy and isn't quicker than a Chinese one. Interesting. Now, I thought they were really efficient, but is it a gas thing? You know, is it using less gas to boil it? Is it a wind thing? Is it? Yeah, they are doing a lot to try and protect it from the wind. You can see that because it's almost sealed off and completely covering the. So I think it's more of a wind thing, extreme weather, say, whereas these would blow out. It certainly isn't because of the speed, because it ain't faster at all, which I thought all this gubbins in here was technology to make it boil faster. It seems to be not the case. So I think that was a very interesting experiment. I've spent all this money on something that's so noisy, I'll be scared to use it, because 99% of the time I'm a stealth camper. Anyway, so I hope that's it certainly has answered something for me. I hope that's answered any of your potential thoughts for buying these type of products. So I think that's quite interesting. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next experiment.